Welcome to the Tuesday Tonic. I am Pat Utomi. This Tuesday, we pause on what we're going to comment on because we have just heard news of the passing of General Muhammadu Buhari, who was president of the country until very recently. Any passage of this nature provides an opportunity for reflection. Going back to Socrates, and then through St. Augustine, we hear that the unexamined life is not worth living. So the examination of conscience should be a very, very important tool for any human, especially those who seek leadership. And in examining the conscience, one of the things that strike me is that anybody who's coming towards leadership must say to themselves, what is the one, maybe two, but one thing that will take me to immortality in the hearts of men? I have had a very peculiar privilege. I probably have met anybody who's been in the position of president of Nigeria since I was more than 15 years old. Met them, and I don't mean in passing, sat down and had conversations with them. One I had a lot of conversations with is President Muhammadu Buhari. During his years seeking power, I spent a lot of time in his company trying to suggest to him how Nigeria could be made different. I had a sense that he had one thing to offer, one very important thing: his, disposition towards corruption. I thought Nigeria, if the one thing that his leadership could achieve is rid Nigeria of this culture of corruption, then would have traveled a long way. But you see, what I found is that he didn't manage to develop a formula for restraining corruption and recognizing that the agency function of government was essentially about accountability. And if you don't account, it doesn't matter how your heart goes, you're going to have problems. Interestingly, President Obasanjo, when he was president, set up a committee, very, very high panel committee on institutions of transparency in government. And I was privileged to chair that committee. Again, I think that even though things like the EFCC and co flowed out of some of that work, that if President Obasanjo himself had just focused massively on, say, solving the power problem in Nigeria, we would not be where we are today. But he started out right. They got the formula right. And then people began to push for ways to get something on the side. And he fell for it. The decision that we're challenged with today about NNPC having wasted all this money in fixing the refineries, it's exactly the same thing that happened with power under President Obasanjo. If he had just taken the first decision of the Federal Electric Council to clean up and move on the power sector, that shall be completely different today. And so I urge all of us, as we look at leadership, ask yourself, what is that one thing that if you had to give your blood for, that would change Nigeria for good? And build yourself the capacity to do something about that one thing. This is the Tuesday Tonic. Remember this as that one thing. Because if I think now of General Buhari and that one thing, I'm not even sure that I can find that one thing. It used to be corruption, but he didn't have a strategy for it. Unfortunately, it seemed that the country became more corrupt under his watch. I know it's much, much worse today, but that's the way it goes. Well, we'll see you next week. This is Pat Utomi.